Hello Berwick Court School. So I thought we would make beef burgers. I'll show you how to make beef burgers because the sun is shining and it's going to be here for a little bit longer, hopefully. I've got my sunglasses on my head that I've just realised because I've been out in the lovely weather today as well. Okay, so I'm going to put a list up of ingredients of what we need to make 4 beef burgers. You'll need 500 grams of minced beef, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of mixed dried herbs, half an onion, salt and pepper, and the additional parts that I'm adding to mine are mustard powder and Worcestershire sauce. Okay, so first things first, we need to fry off our half an onion. Now you can use a whole onion. I just find using half an onion is just a little bit better, otherwise you've got so much onion in the burger and then they're really quite hard to bind together. So I always just use half an onion, but it's entirely up to you. So let's fry off the onion and get that cooking. Okay, so it's really important when you chop your onion to chop it really finely, really small pieces, so you will need a grown-up to do this for you. So you just need to stir the onion, keep moving it around the pan, and then we need to fry it until it goes really soft and kind of see-through really. As soon as it's pretty much see-through, then you know that it's cooked. Okay, so you just need to cook the onion, fry the onion until it looks a little bit like this. So a little bit of colour, but not too much. Okay, so we've cooked the onion. Now we're going to add the onion into the bowl. Okay, so to the onion, you would need to add your mince. Now, often when you open mince from the pack, it's quite wet. So just use some kitchen roll to take off the moisture, so you can see all the moisture from the bottom. So once you've taken off all of the moisture, just pop that into the bowl. And now, because you've been touching raw meat, you need to wash your hands before you go any further. Okay, so I've washed my hands again. So inside the bowl we've got the mince and we've got the fried onion. And then to that you want to add a teaspoon of mixed dried herbs. And then you want to add some salt and pepper. You need to add quite a bit here. Now mine's in a grinder, but you can just use probably half a teaspoon of salt if you have it in a pot or something like that. And a good bit of black pepper. Okay, now 1 large egg. If you've got a medium egg, that's fine. If your eggs are particularly small, then you could use 2. So that is your basic mix for beef burgers. Now I like to add some extra bits to mine. It's entirely up to you whether you do that or not. So I like to use mustard powder. Now you might think, oh, I'm not really sure about that, but you actually can't really taste it. It just gives it a little bit more flavour. And because it's powdery, it's really good to help bind the burgers together. So a teaspoon of mustard powder and a splash of Worcestershire sauce. Okay. Now for the fun part, we need to get our hands in there and give it a really good mix. So if you're wearing anything like rings or anything like that, make sure you take those off. So it's important when you're working this together, when you're mixing it up with your hands, you really break up that beef. Often when you use beef mince for like spaghetti bolognese or something like that, the sort of little wiggly lines, I call them, they stay together, but it's not until you push it and mix it, you've got to break that all up, otherwise it still remains in lumps. Okay, so when you've done that, we need to wash our hands again. Okay, so now I've just got a plate and I've also got a bowl of water. That's just a tip for when you're trying to bring the beef burgers together. If you use wet hands, it's just a bit easier. So this mixture is for 4 burgers, okay? So we need to split it into 4 equal balls. Now that's going to be kind of like the size of a tennis ball, really, okay? So first of all, dip your hands into the water, make sure they're wet, and just roughly in the bowl, split it between 4. So 4 equal balls, and it is about the size of a tennis ball. Okay, so if you just do that within the bowl and just divide them, and make sure you pick up all of the bits of onions at the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so take the first one, and you can see because your hands are wet, it doesn't stick to your hands. So once you've got the ball in your hand like that, then you need to push it down and push it out. Okay? Now, you don't want them really any thinner or any flatter than about that size, okay? And make sure they're all flat, so you don't want like a thin end here and then a fatter end here, because then they won't all cook the same. So you just need to make sure that they're all about the same width. Okay, I think that's about right. So you might need to wet your hands again. Pick up the other ball, and again, if there's any extra onions in the bottom, you can use that. And again, put that in your hand like a ball and then push it down. And if you find, or actually one is bigger than the other, just take a little bit off and add it to the other burger. Just push it down a little bit more. Okay, that's another one. And then the next one. So into a ball and then push it down flat. There we go. And the last one. Make sure you pick up all of those onions at the bottom, because they're really yummy. So into a ball and flatten it out. I haven't needed to put any extra water on my hands this time because they're still nice and wet. Okay. So that is my 4 beef burgers. Now what I'm going to do before I put them in the fridge, I'm actually just going to put some more salt and pepper on the top. So before I do that, I'm just going to wash my hands again. Okay, so the reason we wash our hands so many times when we're doing this is because we're touching raw meats. So if I were then to touch the salt and pepper grinder, we wouldn't want to touch it if we've just touched raw meat. So that's why we wash our hands. So salt and pepper on the top. And then I'm going to cover these and leave these in the fridge for at least a good hour before you cook them. The reason why you do that is so they don't all break apart when you actually cook them. Okay, so when you come to cook these, you can cook them on the barbecue, or you can cook them under the grill, or you could put them in the frying pan. I'm going to put mine on the barbecue this afternoon. You would probably cook on the barbecue for a few minutes each side. If you were doing them under the grill, probably about 10 to 12 minutes, and in the frying pan, probably I would say about the same. And I will let you know, give you a picture of what they look like when they're cooked. Enjoy!